Human beings have not yet developed a sense organ to perceive this color. This mysterious 12th color is mostly invisible. They found that this hidden vibration cannot be penetrated by X-rays, and they had ideas about the way that in ancient Egypt they could send information and energy over large distances. It's an incredible energy known to the ancients and rediscovered since we now know how to test it and how to apply it. At an energetic level, orange has the power to purge toxic energy out of the human energy system. For example, if you train in the pranic healing system, as you're learning to send bioenergy from the body into a person's energy field, it's based on, at the higher levels, being able to project a particular color vibration from the human energy field into the body. And there's very precise combinations. People tend to have a lot of dark stuck energy in the energy centers of the body. So in their system, they would start by broadcasting the green energy quality. Because what does green do at an energetic level? It starts to break up toxicity. We see the same thing with the impact of green as it manifests in nature. If you're going to be on some type of detox diet, you'll almost always be taking in super green foods. Literally start breaking up toxic concentrations in the body, and it will then help to pull and flush it out of the body. And so from a purely energetic level, in pranic healing, they can project the green prana, and it will start to loosen and break up the toxic concentrations in the body. And then in safe areas of the body, because the orange quality can be very penetrating and very powerful, they'll broadcast the orange quality in, and that forces the body to purge. So if you were to actually test energetically a person's body just before they purge something from their body, you'll see that there's always a buildup of the orange vibration first. A person's about to vomit, you'll see a strong concentration of orange buildup in the stomach. If they're about to urinate, you'll see the buildup of the orange in the urinary bladder. Same thing for the colon if they're about to defecate, etc. But it can also be used to send out from the body any type of toxic energy that's embedded within the body. Now, this can also have a particular impact if you were to apply it at, let's say, the spiritual level. So one thing that can be done and used by advanced healers and spiritual adepts is if a person is in a death process and they're somewhat stuck in the physical body trying to get out, and they're suffering. This is not something that's going to help them to stay in the body any longer. It's just going to extend their suffering. So what can be done is that the orange color can be used to help to release or expel the spirit from the body itself at the time of death. This does become a system that can be used for creating specific vibrational effects, again, at any level of structure, physiological, consciousness, and even at particular spiritual activities. I'll give you another example, this case using an energy quality that is not as well known, but is within the color spectrum. There's a particular vibrational power that the French researchers discovered when they began to test the energies coming from old Egyptian ritual objects and from the designs of their temples and things like this. They had found that they were able to find this universal vibrational spectrum that applies to all these quality scales, and it had all the colors of the visible spectrum, the red through the violet, and then the red goes to infrared, the violet goes to ultraviolet. And they started out with a straight line bar, but then they realized, no, this needs to become a circle. And then it goes from the ultraviolet to the white, from the infrared to the black. That was 11 bands of energy. Then there was a mysterious hidden 12th band. They're like, what is this 12th band? And so they developed particular radiesthesia tools that have particular angles and features on them that will begin to move in resonance with these different energies, including this invisible band. And when you were to arrange the colors in a circular spectrum, they found that this mysterious hidden vibration that is mostly invisible, but if it was to manifest physically, it would manifest as a gray color. And it's because human beings have not yet developed a sense organ to perceive this color. And just as a colorblind person will see all colors as shades of gray, all human beings are at the stage of development now that this mysterious 12th color can only be perceived as gray. And so what they referred to it as, and this confused people a lot, is negative green, because it was directly opposite the green in the spectrum. So green is the central color of the 7 color bands. It's the one in the middle. And so that's why in many types of color therapy, green is used to restore equilibrium. It restores harmony and balance. People aren't harmed by green. All of nature is green. We feel balanced by it because it's the central part, geometrically, of a 7-fold system. It's the balance point in the center. But in a circular array, directly opposite it would be this negative green energy. Now, negative doesn't mean it's necessarily bad, and it doesn't appear as green. It's just the opposite polarity to what we think of as the green. So what they found out about this mysterious 12th color band that was connected to this powerful vibration used in the Egyptian temple science, and then they found it was used in other traditions as well. They found its use in India, they found its use in Easter Island, all kinds of things. This negative green energy, they found, could penetrate thicknesses of lead that cannot be penetrated by X-rays. And they had ideas about the way that in ancient Egypt they could send information and energy over large distances using negative green broadcast. And if you actually test energetically modern electromagnetic communication technologies and things, what they're actually sending out on those waves would, from a vibrational perspective, be considered to be negative green. It's all a negative green modern technology that we're using a different frame of reference for. We no longer see how it pertains to all the other colors in the bands, but it's all part of the negative green spectrum. So negative green also becomes not only the carrier wave that sends energy and information straight through solid objects. If we were to understand it from modern physics, we would understand it in terms of the neutrinos that can pass straight through the Earth as if physical objects are invisible. It's an incredible energy known to the ancients and rediscovered, and now we use it also in Egyptian biogeometry from Dr. Karim, since we now know how to test it and how to apply it. But it does have a couple of sides to it. When it propagates as a wave in a particular way, it is something that is related to the movement of all life energy. So when they talk about Shakti energy transmissions in the Himalayas, where you're doing like a spiritual energy transmission, let's say from a guru to a disciple, and you're activating the whole system with this transmission. That's using the negative green ray. It can send the energy not just in terms of our modern technology with communication broadcasts, but it also has a spiritual aspect. So some of the researchers at that time began to refer to it as not just a carrier wave, but as a spiritual carrier wave. They even did research that found that the more of this energy you build up in your energy system, the more advanced the person is spiritually, that this spiritual carrier wave has built up more and more in the energy body. Dr. Karim took this work much further later on in biogeometry and clarified a lot of the principles, and also made it much safer because whereas the one form of transmission of the negative green energy leads to all beneficial life energy transfer in the world, including the Shakti transmissions, different form of transmission of the negative green energy is related to death forces and taking things out of physical existence. And so it could be manipulated in particular ways, just like electromagnetic technology can be used to create electromagnetic weapons and things like this. So it becomes a deeper topic. But I wanted to bring this in that when we're dealing then with an expanded view of color therapy as one quality scale, that this research that's almost been forgotten was done, that found this complete spectrum that included the mysterious hidden energy from the Egyptian temple science, which we can actually understand, test, and apply today, as is done in biogeometry, and begins to point to the understanding of these energies in the ancient traditions. The blue is a very interesting color that's starting to move to what some of the color therapists would say toward the cooling colors, rather than the heating and activating colors. So red, orange, yellow, more heating, activating. Green is in the center. Then as you go to blue, indigo, violet, it's more toward the cooling. But one of the particular fascinating aspects of blue is that they actually use blue light therapy for particular types of physiological illnesses, such as the buildup of bilirubin in the body. And this particularly they find in the Amish population, based on genetics and things, there's particular chemical functioning of the body that's impaired. And they'll put infants under blue light therapy because it helps to clear out some of these chemical concentrations that would be toxic otherwise. Another very fascinating part of the blue light is that Blue light can be used in advanced esoteric purposes to be able to hold energy in place, to lock it in place. So often if you were to broadcast energy into a person, place, or thing, that energy will have an impact at the time you broadcast it, but it will begin to wear off over time. But what the blue can do is that the blue can help to create a type of energy field that locks the energy in place for a longer period of time. It works as a type of stabilization. So really for all the colors, they have a whole variety of different functioning. But that would be one aspect of, at a particular evolutionary stage of a complete cosmic process, starting from the negative green, going into the black of the darkness, into the infrared as the movement and heat is beginning to generate, into the red as the stimulation for life is formed. And then you go through every one of the bands, and it's actually a profound spiritual experience, what every one of those bands has as a evolutionary cycle. Now, there's also the part of this in creating a new temple, which is a topic I absolutely love, which is, of course, we go back to classical tantra, that classical tantra uses things like sound and color and all of these things. And it's all about opening up the five senses. So a lot of the classical tantra is about how do you open up the five senses to create maximum pleasure, maximum activation. So the most beneficial possible taste, smells, color, sounds, physical sensations and feeling, things of this kind, bringing all of that together into a temple space that opens people up. And again, with modern technology, we have a lot of potentials we didn't have before. Then, of course, we have to bring in the aspect of the sacred geometry, of the shape information.
Sure.
Now, a tremendous amount of the work that we do with Dr. Karim's biogeometry, it has to do with how we use shape information to create concentrations of particular types of energy. So we can create the vibrational effect of a particular visible color, not just through using colored light or representations of the color through pigment, but through particular shapes that emanate a vibration. That's the same vibration as that color, but it's simply within the forms of the space. Now, there's a few secrets of this work, which is a vast topic of its own. I'll just touch on a few really key things here. One of the most important things is that, of course, you can't build the temple space in an abstract location. You need to find an existing power spot to build on. And so the building with its forms has to grow out of the power spot like a plant growing out of the earth. That way, it's channeling the power spot energy at that point on the earth into all the forms that are being created within the temple itself. So that's very important. If you didn't have a power spot, it is possible to create power spot energetics using biogeometry methods. But for any really important temple, just like in the ancient world, you'd want to find an existing power spot and then magnify it and channel it into all of the forms that are growing into the building. Now, there's also the side of this that what we've been talking about so far in terms of color is the way it's conventionally thought of, which is that it's in a polarity system. So you have, for example, complementary colors. And they will say, well, like red and green are complementary opposites within the color spectrum, or orange and blue, or things like this. They have polarized energies. Same thing in color therapy, where you're going to get more of a stimulation, yang, activation energy from a red than you're going to get from a blue, indigo, violet types of things, yin and yang type of thing. Well, beyond yin and yang, which is the two opposite polarities, is going back to the original unity, the original one that everything comes from. And that's actually the focus of the biogeometry work. We can work with the polarized energies, but what biogeometry is actually all about is reconnecting to the original unified field energy, the unity energy, before the polarity split. And that's an energy that balances and harmonizes all living energy fields. And it has particular energetic components to it. If we were to look at the actual color spectrum, and there's actually work that we teach in biogeometry related to this, and we look at the different colors in the spectrum, in particular parts of that color, if we were to see it as a graduation, let's say, in blue going from what started at the end of green, and then when it terminates at indigo, there's going to be particular sub-locations, sub-bands within orange or green or blue that has a more powerful connection to the center, or a more powerful connection to what in biogeometry is called the BG3, or the one energy quality of the original unified field that balances and harmonizes energy. So the way I represent it visually in the Universal Vibrational Spectrum class is the point in the center of the circle. So the circle of the 12 bands of all the different vibrational qualities, which could be color, or they could be sound, or could be whatever, that universal vibrational spectrum, that's on the periphery. In the exact center is a gold spot, and the gold spot in the center is this unified field energy. That's the real secret of the ancient Egyptian temples, the real secret of biogeometry, and the basis for the practical techniques.